Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to talk today in this video about the importance of a support system when you're going through withdrawal, tapering, whether you're off the drug and just really suffering with bad effects, side effects, whatever the situation is. So I know some people have a support system, people they live with, people close to them who are really supportive, and there are other people who don't have that. And then there's other people who don't really have people around them at all. So there are a few different things that I want to talk about when it comes to this topic. And so the first one is it is really, really, really important to have people in your corner that support you. So even if you don't have the situation where you have family or people you live with who support you, you have to find others who will. So this could come in a few different forms. So it could be a coach. So I know some people have utilized coaches, some people are just maybe thinking about it, some people haven't, and that can be a really good resource. So there are several different coaches out there. It's something that I'm starting to get into myself, and they can be a good resource because all of the coaches out there, some of them I know personally, some of them I don't. They've all been through really difficult situations when it comes to these drugs, akathisia, all different kinds of hellish withdrawal symptoms, and have made it out the other side. And so they can be a really great resource for you because they basically you are looking into your future when you talk to them. So this could be my outcome. This will be my outcome if I just stick it out. I can come out the other side of this and recover, no matter how bad my symptoms are. So obviously, some people don't have access or are unable to get a coach. So another thing I recommend, which I did, which was integral to my healing and my recovery, was healing buddies or a support circle. So what I did in my journey, because I was living with my mom, I was around her all the time, and then my grandma as well. And kind of before my mom fully understood what was going on with me and how to support me, I really, really needed that, like people surrounding me who understood what I was going through and were there for me day in and day out. So I don't even remember where I found everybody from, but I ended up putting together this support circle, which I've talked about in a lot of other videos of women. Everybody was women, that's just how it worked out, who were right in the beginning stages of withdrawal. So all of us, I believe, when we started chatting, were very, very recently off the drugs, like either just barely off the drugs, or I think the furthest out was maybe 3 months or maybe 6 months, but we were all in the acute phase. Several of us had akathisia. All of us had pretty severe symptoms, and most of us, if not all of us, had been polydrugged. And so I had found this group of women either through my old YouTube channel, which I used to have and then deleted and started this one, or through the online forums, the Facebook groups, Benzo buddies, surviving antidepressants. I don't remember exactly where every single person came from, but they were from one of those places. And so what we would do is we started a video chat group on Facebook Messenger, and every day someone would be on that chat, and then you could just hop on and hop off all throughout the day. And there was a very high chance that someone or multiple people were online. And so it was such an important part of my recovery because everybody understood firsthand what it was like to go through this incredibly horrific journey. And we all had different scenarios in our own lives. Some of us were, living with spouses or living with parents, and some of us had really, really supportive, close knit circles, others didn't. But we all, as a group, knew what each other was going through on a pretty or a very personal level. And so we did that for, it was probably in total 18 months. So it started out with just me and one other person, and then there was three, four, I think at the end there was 10 or 11 of us. And so it was just absolutely amazing. And we got really, really close. We went through so much life together and we suffered together. And it was one of those things where it didn't matter how bad you were, it just, we were there to support you and we were there to cry with you and encourage you, even though none of us knew what the outcome was going to be. None of us were healed. We did have one sort of mentor that would hop on and off every once in a while. She was someone who had been through really severe withdrawal, lots of poly drugging, and she was fully healed. And so sometimes when we just couldn't hold each other up, we would get her on the call and she would encourage all of us. And so that was also really, really important. And we're so thankful for her to do that for us. And she also was the one who talked to my family, my mom in particular, and explained to her exactly what was going on. because it was getting to the point where my mom was tired of hearing about it day in and day out. She just wanted me to get better. She wanted the old Melissa back, and I just couldn't bring her back at that time. And I felt this kind of pressure to get better, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. And so, her having that conversation with someone who had been through it and come out the other side was a hugely important thing. And so, for me, now that I'm getting into coaching, that's going to be one of my main roles is acting as a family liaison. So, I will be able to talk to the family members of those suffering, give them more of a firsthand perspective of what that person is going through, and validate what they're going through. And I went through such bad physical and mental symptoms, so it doesn't really matter what the person has. I mean, I can relate to it on some level because I had both so badly. And so that was another huge part was to have that person who had already healed to act sort of as a mentor in our group. And I still chat, not every day by any means, and not to everyone, but still to some of them. I just talked to one of the girls today, so that is really important, I think, is to have some type of healing buddy. I know that the forums and the online communities have like a toxic side to them where, it can just be so much suffering. It can make you feel more hopeless. And also, when you're reading someone's story just on the thread, you really don't have all of the information. People leave stuff out of those threads. They don't give you the whole story sometimes. And so you can take it at face value and you're really actually not getting the whole picture. And if it's a really bad case, you can freak out and be like, oh my goodness, like I'm never going to get better. Look at how protracted this person is, but you just don't know the whole story. So you have to find those that want to get through this, want to heal. I think everybody wants to heal, but I think some people are maybe wanting to reach out to others more. And so, but I think it's really important that everybody does that, even if it's just one person that you can find in the community that is basically going to hold hands with you and get through it. You're going to get through it together no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult it is, and you cling to that person. So I encourage you, like, whether even if it's not a group, if it's just one person that can go through it with you, where you can be that encouragement, it is huge. It is a huge part of recovery. So, one is coaching, two is finding a healing buddy, and then that third piece I already mentioned is getting your family on board. And so, whether that's I think that's where coaches can really be helpful, or it doesn't have to be a formal coach. If you can reach out to someone in the forums who has a success story, someone who's healed, who they can talk to, one of your family members, whoever you're the closest with, and really explain to them what's going on, what the recovery path looks like, the path that the fact that it's non-linear for many, many people, the windows and waves pattern, all of that stuff, because sometimes it can get to a point where, the person suffering the people around them might just get tired of hearing about it from them because you might be in such an acute phase where it's just panic, frantic. You can't really have those rational conversations. So if you can have someone else step in and be like, hey, look, this used to be me. This is where I am now. This is what it looked like to get through it and come out the other side. There is hope. I think that's a hugely important piece. So there are people out there, there's lots of success stories, there are coaches, and I know not everyone has the means to get a coach, but even if it's just a one-time conversation, it can make all of the difference in a world. So don't underestimate the power of a healing buddy. Don't underestimate the power of a support, even if it's just one person. So just someone to get you through the next minute, the next day, the next week, whatever. And it's just, and you can form such lifelong and amazingly close bonds with these people. I mean, you're sharing one of the most intimate and difficult, if not the most difficult thing that you have ever been through or will ever go through. And so you form really close bonds, and it can be an amazing experience. I still look back 2 years ago to when I was really heavily doing that, and just there's a lot of really fond memories, and I mean, there's a lot of nightmarish memories, but there's also, just that connection that you form with people is incredible, and it's really like no other, like I said, because those people understand you on such an intimate level and what you're going through. So I just wanted to stress that and encourage you that if you haven't already done that, even if, I think face to face conversations are the best, even if they're just virtual, and you have to be, I want to say too that there was almost everybody that was new to the group because they kind of trickled in was just horrified to be on camera in the state that they were in. So we never forced anybody to be on camera, but we encouraged it because that face to face where you could really see the raw emotion was powerful. And everybody that would come in would be like, I don't want to show my face. I'm in such bad shape. Like screaming, crying, rocking, pacing, like we saw everything. And, you know, it's just like if you can have that openness, it really helps. So I think face to face is the best. Then second best would be just audio. Sometimes we would just hop on and just shut the video off, and that was okay too. And we encourage that as well. And then I think like something like email or texting would be the least effective, but it would still be helpful because you are forming that connection. So I just wanted to make a quick video about that. And if you haven't already done so, I really encourage you to try to do that rather than just looking at the forums or the Facebook groups and reading all of the horror stories, and because it can kind of be a double-edged sword where you go on there and you start out reading the success stories and you're like, okay, there's hope, I'm going to be okay. And then there's that part of you, it's almost like a symptom in itself where you're like, I have to read the horror stories. I have to see, how long is this the worst person protracted? 12 years. Oh, they didn't heal. Well, it's all hell for me now, but you don't know that whole story. You don't, and I learned that over the years because that used to be me, the doom scroller. And you learn, and I've learned in the whatever 5.5 years I've been in this now, that most of the time, if you're just reading a thread, it's not the whole story. So I'm not saying that people don't have protracted withdrawals. That can last a long time. I mean, mine lasted a long time if you count from my first withdrawal, but you don't always know just based on a thread if there's just pieces missing. So I encourage you to do that, to try to find people that will be in your corner and some people to talk to the people who are physically with you. It can make all the difference. So I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.